All right, everybody. Welcome to another segment of the Gambling Lab brought to you by Bogey Proof. We got the full crew tonight, myself, Brian, TJ, and Paul, ready to talk a little Open Championship and recap, a pretty exciting week. Open Championship always has a different feel, a little different energy to it, but a lot of fun to watch. Really fun leaderboard come Sunday. And Colin Morikawa, like the kid, the crown champion come the end of the day on Sunday, and really never even thought about letting it slip away at any point. So really impressive stuff out of him. What are your guys' initial reactions out of this past weekend?
It was it was kind of boring for 7 holes, like the last 7 holes. Colin Morikawa was just so good, and I don't mean the golf he was playing was bad or anything like that. I mean, obviously it was spectacular, but he was playing golf the way it should be, as good as it was, where it was actually just so methodical that you just knew by, I mean, even before hole 11 that he was going to win. I mean, hats off to him. It was good to sweat a couple things out this week. I know the boys will touch on some of the winners, but there's a lot of good action from this group. But no, it was good to see some guys up there. Shout out Robbie McIntyre, made me sweat all throughout Sunday. I'm sure we got that sweat of the week. He was my guy. But yeah, go ahead, jump in, guys. What do you guys think?
Robbie McIntyre, just one quick thing. Robbie McIntyre almost made the greatest par in golf history on that one hole. That from when he was hitting 5 from like 215 and almost jarred it with a 5-iron. That was like absolutely absurd.
If that went in,
yeah, no,
I would have doubled down.
Yeah.
That was insane. And if you didn't see the highlight of that, you need to go find it somewhere.
Go find
it. Ridiculous.
But
yeah, no, it was a crazy week. Colin is a specimen. Just like didn't miss a fairway, super methodical. Kind of gave me some Tiger Woods feels. Just I've never seen a dude just like he was just so locked in. And like you said, TJ, I mean, there wasn't a moment after once the back nine started, there wasn't a moment I thought he was like there wasn't. And he's been criticized through the very early start of his career on his putting, but I mean the putt, like the hole looked like a basketball hoop to him. I mean, he was making pars like you'd never see ever, and just his performance overshadowed, I feel like, some really, really great performances from some guys. I think the whole world knew Louis Oosthuizen just wasn't going to win on Sunday. I mean, it's another classic Louis to the bank moment. Although Paul and I went to the bank thanks to Louis. I'm sure I'm going to let Paul do that because he was the big winner. Had a little bit more balls, but yeah, I mean, great tournament. I thought overall though.
Yeah, I know, Matt, you mentioned to start that the kid Colin Morikawa, I don't even know if you can call him a kid. He's just like the dude now. Like I don't even know how to. He's I don't know. He just lights out. Like I think from here to the end of the time, if he has a decent week putting, he's just gonna win everything. And putting is the one flaw in his game right now.
Yeah, and honestly too, like. And I'm sure we've covered it probably a lot in the past previewing tournaments and talking about him, but it's like Craig kind of hinted at it. It's Tiger-esque. I mean, when he has a long iron, any kind of iron in hand, it's a 10-foot circle that he's hitting it in, and there's not even a doubt that it's going anywhere outside that, right? And the couple of times he was a little bit out of play or out of position, we'll call it. On Sunday, it was like a driver was out of play, or he missed it like 10 feet on the wrong side of the hole and it kind of ran off or whatever. But he just he's so polished for like a 2-year PGA Tour player that
for a 24-year-old.
Yeah, back on Sunday, and he misses a green or he gets out of sorts. Like he always, and I think Phil put this on display at Kiowa, I think too. Like we talked about it then, but whenever he was out of position, he played like the shot that limited the damage, right? Like he made so many of those 10, 8-foot par putts because he played to that shot instead of trying to hit a perfect one and making a double. Because that was the only way he was going to lose, is if he did something like that to make a quick double. Because worst case, he was in a playoff if Spieth, birdied a few of the last few, like 3 holes or whatever it was. But he had already birdied. He was like 6 under through 8 holes from like hole 6 through 13. So it's like you only go so deep in a 13-hole stretch. Like you would have had to do something pretty stupid to catch Colin, and he never left the door like ajar at any point, right? Like the second, it seemed like when Spieth started like when we eagled 7 and birdied 8 or birdied 9 and then birdied 10 and kind of was like, all right, here comes Spieth, he's making his push. Colin birdied 7, Colin birdied 9, Colin birdied 10 as well. Like he didn't have the eagle on 7, but he didn't, it's not like it was 2-shot swings at any point. And he just again, and then back to TJ's point too, he's just so fucking methodical and just he takes his time. He just never looks uncomfortable. Like he never looks panicky. He never takes a swing or hits a shot where everybody's like, "Ooh, whoa, what was that?" Or hits a chip or hits a putt where it's like that was way off. He's, there's something going on internally, even if he's not, displaying it. He just complete control beginning to end, really from like the 6th hole on Saturday. I think he bogeyed a couple early Saturday and then was lights out pretty much for the last 28 holes of the golf tournament. Like bogey free 66 closing on a Sunday when you started the day 1 back and very quickly were in the lead by yourself, probably by like hole 4, to then just be complete nails. And he did it at Harding Park too. Saw a stat somewhere on Twitter, like his 2 Sundays that he won a major, like both bogey free, one a 68, one a 66. Like that's
I
can't draw that out.
Just in the best gambling segments too can always admit when they're wrong. And the bogey proof boys, I believe we were all very okay with fading him. And when they happened, and but at the same time I think we were like wrong about it, but we were right at the same time because we had put a lot of stock into, experience does matter. And he literally came out and said, like, I wouldn't have made the cut unless I had played that Irish Open a couple weeks before or a week before, whatever it was. So it's like we were, he didn't have any experience. And like, I think we really got to see a true sense of how talented he really is, which was cool to see. I mean, with that 5-wood or whatever he was hitting, 3-wood, 5-wood, I mean, he just didn't miss a fairway. And, it was an absolute clinic. So good to see.
It was good to see Jordan too battle. I mean, if you look at Jordan Saturday, how that ended, bogey, 17, 18, and 18, just a lack of just stepping up and finishing the job on 18. To see him come back, struggle the first couple holes, but then pick it up and get all the way up to 13 under. I mean, he didn't win, but in a second place finish, he should be proud of the way that he competed out there. I think that's just also a sign for Jordan that he's getting better. If Colin didn't play the way he did, just methodical up and down, continue to put pressure and just make birdies, Jordan's winning that tournament. I truly believe
if he makes a bogey in that middle 8 holes, we'll call it, then it's a whole different ballgame. Because the second you crack that door a little, just your own head, right? Like the second you lose that momentum for a second, it can get ugly quick. Where he made that 8-footer, 12-footer, etc. for par that he needed just to stay 2 ahead. Like 2 versus 1 is a huge deal in golf, right? Like it's just a different mindset.
At that level, especially.
You often see the Spieth wave, right? Spieth starts picking it up. He's getting going, right? And it's like, all right, the guys in front, they start to panic a little bit. The crowds are getting loud. Like, how do you react? Colin just continued to motor through, just continue to apply the pressure, make more birdies. And Spieth just had to play catch up until there was not enough holes to catch up on. It was just fantastic. Golf course played phenomenal. I thought views were great, minus the win actually was not as big or as big a factor as it should have been.
Down on the weekend.
Yeah, for a typical Open, I mean, we had under 10 miles per hour, no rain. We had sun. What was that?
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was South Carolina out there.
Yeah. The only comment thing I noticed about the golf course is it was softer than I would have expected. And I mean, you can't control how much rain they got leading up to the week and stuff like that. It is what it is. But like, I think that played a big role in Colin's favor because around the greens, it wasn't so firm and fast where stuff got ugly, right? Like it was a little softer where it kind of the bounces weren't as crazy of like where it went when it landed. I mean, I don't know. When he hit it as good as he did, he didn't miss a lot all week. But I think that definitely plays a different factor, especially like now your tee shots. I mean, your fairways get a lot smaller when it gets firmer, like all those kind of things that took the teeth away from it and kind of some of the fun of an Open Championship. out of it. I don't think that really changes who ends up winning at the end of the day, but it definitely, as great as it played, and I love watching Open Championship golf, it's a different vibe to it.
The best.
It wasn't like all in 1,000%. This is links golf. It was like had all the makings for it. The weather just wasn't what we needed it to like really display or like be able to see it in its full force. But I mean, you can't control that. So
the reason why the layout of that course is the way it is because of the wind and the weather. Like that is why it is the way it is. And so like you get the traditional links when you get that weather with it too. So when you brought that up, it kind of just like it's a no-brainer at that point. Like you need the wind, you need a little bit of rain, you need some elements to it, right?
Or they just didn't know what the hell they were doing building a course in 1880. But yeah, either one.
Yeah, they didn't have radar back then.
Yeah.
They didn't have TJ then to help them out with the weather. But
No.
if you're looking at the board, I mean, you're talking about Spieth could have easily won. I mean, Jon Rahm probably should have won. I mean, if we're being realistic, he played the exact same golf as Colin Morikawa Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He just shot a casual 1 under on Thursday, and if he shoots a little bit, a couple extra birdies, I mean, Jon Rahm probably wins. I mean, you look at the numbers and you look at the stats and you look at all 4 rounds, like Jon Rahm should have won that golf tournament.
He's so good too. That, like he gives like Jon Rahm right now is giving me like DJ, Tiger, Rory vibes when they're on because like he looked like he played like shit, and then you look at the board like, oh, he shot 66 today. Like what? Like every time he missed a 12-footer for birdie, and I was like, damn, like he's striping, he just can't make it anything, and he shot 66. It's like,
yeah,
I think he's like again, like we talked about it leading into it. It's very hard to go back-to-back majors, like. Especially with how close they are now. I feel like they weren't always as close. I feel like, I mean, we got the Olympics and Ryder Cup this year, so that probably impacts it. But I think if, granted now we don't have another major for eight months or whatever. But, yeah. I mean, Jon Rahm is, like, right now far and away, like, the best player in the world. It felt like he had his, like, C game this week at the Open. And he, like you said, T3. Like, like it's
easy. Get a chance.
Yeah. And very well, if he makes a couple more on that first 9 holes, he is right. He's much more in play versus chasing as far back as he was come Sunday. And like you said, too, probably like pretty slow start to the week, too. And again, I watched a decent amount of the golf, and he was in a few feature groups. Like, putter just didn't make anything. Like the greens are slower over there than what they're used to. And I think he spoke to that at the Scottish Open from the week before when he came in 3rd again or 8th there, whatever he did. Like, I just don't think he ever got fully comfortable coming from the PGA Tour style courses that, he's played. They didn't have an Open last year, so he probably didn't come over and play over on this side of the Atlantic. So it's like just wasn't overly familiar with, greens that roll at like an 11 or a 12 versus the 14 and a half they are in the States when they're playing U.S. Open or every other week on the PGA Tour. They're super
uncomfortable T3 from Jon Rahm at the Open.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's just so good in every aspect of the game that he really didn't make anything this week and finished T3. Like if this was April, I'd be like 2 majors. Like it'd be like 2 majors this year, no doubt. But he's got to kind of hang on to that form for 8 months, which is obviously super difficult to do. He's gonna be a problem in the Ryder Cup. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. I think him winning the U.S. Open is gonna take him over. And I was about to mention the Ryder Cup as well. He's gonna be an issue for whoever he's going against. Because he's more talented than everyone. But you go up and down it. I mean, it really was a great leaderboard. I mean, just another world class performance from Brooks, just a 5 under Sunday to launch him up there to almost the top 5. Another top 10 from DJ, my boy Danny Berger, top 10. Scotty Scheffler, another good showing. Great leaderboard, really was.
I mean, with DJ too, like 73 on Saturday. Like if a couple under that day is 60. I mean, I know it's a lot to flip a score by 5 shots, but 5 shots, 5 shots.
He Saturday, like he played bad to shoot 73. Like that. It was pretty mundane conditions come Saturday, Sunday. Like that was just a poor round at a bad time.
I mean, I honestly thought that the tournament was over. Like Saturday after Spieth made his birdie on 10. I think it got him to like 12 or 13 under, something like that. And then he bogeyed. He made 3 bogeys coming in and Morikawa scuffled out of the gates, I thought Spieth was just going to run away with it. I was like, okay, he's make a couple birdies coming in. He's going to have like a 3-shot lead going into Sunday. Then he's just going to do Spieth things on Sunday and just,
Spieth,
just run away.
Yeah, I think we were all rooting for that, to be honest. But
certainly was.
It's so good to have him back in the mix. I mean, we were probably a little bit ahead of the game come Augusta this year. Like, yes, he was winning, but he wasn't playing strong fields when he was winning, and it wasn't in like complete control yet. You know, it was like the very early stages of him getting it back on the tracks. Where now, like, if we're playing Augusta in a month, I'm picking Jordan Spieth a million times. I'm probably still going to pick him in April, but it's good to see him for sure back. Where once he gets if he has another, like, he had his full picture year 2021 was super solid. I think give him another 6 months. I bet you before we go into Augusta next year, he's back in like the top 10 world rankings again. He was so far back to start this year that you can only climb so high in 1 year. There's a lot of like it's over a extended sample size, but he's definitely back to kind of I think where he needs to be. But I mean,
we got FedEx coming, right? We got FedEx coming, so I'd like to see Jordan. I'd like to see him pick one up, like just a smaller tournament or whatever. Even a FedEx event, which are obviously no joke. Those tournaments they're no jokes, but those FedEx events are birdie fit every year. No matter which one. And I'd like to see him, definitely get back in that winner's circle. But yeah, I mean, his short game is so brilliant. It's crazy. And I don't know what to think though of him hitting these drivers. His irons are ridiculous, but I still don't trust him with that driver. Yeah. And like he hits these little slingers, and like I feel like he's just really trying to work it, like do whatever he can to hit the ball in the fairway.
He needs to work the ball with the driver, which is always a little sketch. Like,
right, because it leads to inconsistencies.
Yeah,
Colin Morikawa is just like, watch this, I'm gonna hit it straight. Look, watch. Yeah. And it just does that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Spieth was stressing me out with that little pre-shot routine he has now, where he does like the little pump fakes. Oh my gosh! I'm like, whoa.
I do the same thing now, to be honest.
Oh, not a little feel going.
But I have a little.
I was like, obviously it's working, but I was like, man, this is.
To watch at 7:00 in the morning. I just had a second cup of coffee trying to wake up.
Like I just it's in the back of my head now where I'm like, is he so far inside of his own head now, or he's back to where he was like a couple of years ago? And I'm like, oh man, this is a dangerous place right now, Jordan.
Yeah,
he's living on the edge. I feel like mentally.
I think given the kind of the names we're rattling off here in this leaderboard, it's worth giving a little bit, like, now that we're at the end of the year, right? The majors are done. I mean, obviously FedEx Cup, Ryder Cup, Olympics too, for those that are partaking. There's still some important golf to watch, but majors are really what we care about here when we look back on history. And for at least from an individual perspective, right? Ryder Cups are always fun, but from an individual perspective, like there's like a group, there's this 6-7 guys that are under age 28. I want to get your guys' thoughts on like who do you think like wins the most majors in the next 5 years, or maybe in total even. Like, who do you think, not like based on what they have before, but like if they all start at 0 right now, like who gets the most in the next 5 years? So you got Morikawa 24, Rahm 26, Spieth and DeChambeau are 27, Xander's 27, Hovland's 23, Cam Smith 27, Scotty Scheffler 25, Sam Burns 24, Joaquin Niemann is 22, and then Sungjae Im 23, and yeah, those are all the kind of the big hitters, like under 28. JT is
love Sungjae
in there, but
needs to start winning if he wants to.
Rahm is the answer to that question. Rahm is just
Colin is my answer. I say Colin just because the clinic that he put on was just when it was tough too. Jon Rahm does it. Don't get me wrong, but Colin's younger. I'm gonna hold on to that. That was those balls of fucking steel. Give it all to Colin. Granted, Rahm played golf when it didn't matter because he sucked on day one. So basically, he's like, I got nothing to lose. Let's go play golf, free golf. And Colin played tough, tight golf for the last 2 rounds. I'm not saying Jon Rahm can't do it, but I'm betting Colin.
I think.
I mean, he's got. Go ahead, Paulie.
No, I was just gonna just going year by year. I know the Open next year, the U.S. Open, is that Brookline Country Club, where those greens are so small, and it's not like your Shinnecock's or the Erin Hills or Torrey, where you have to hit the ball like a mile off the tee. The greens are so small, and when you factor in the USGA, the rough is going to be so long. It's just going to be like a ball striking clinic out there. Like whoever wins is just going to have a lights out day striking the ball. So that goes to Spieth, his iron play, Morikawa, his iron play, John Rahm, his iron play. Like those guys just stick out. So obviously, I don't know, all of them are just so goddamn good.
I know,
golf
crazy.
I know I think Rahm and Morikawa honestly have a pretty similar style of play. Really, I mean, obviously Rahm's a little bit longer, and his short game, maybe around the greens is probably a little better. But I mean, Collin Morikawa might be the most accurate player on the tour, and they just both it's just a stripe fest. So I mean, I think it's they're both John Rahm. I mean, John Rahm's like a year and a half older than Collin, and we've seen watching guys develop. I think Dustin is a good example of that. Became a really good putter over the last 5 years, and we'll see. We'll see which one of them becomes a better putter. We'll watch next year when the majors start again, when Augusta comes again. We'll see who's putting. We'll see if Collin can keep it up. I know Collin changed his grip and everything, and then all of a sudden he just is literally can't miss a hole. So we'll see. We'll see if the putting keeps up, because I mean, they could, both of them could win every tournament they play in. I mean, it's a joke.
100%.
Now that both of them have done it, especially.
Yeah, and I think with
done it twice.
Yeah, and that's
he's done it twice. Yeah.
Winning a major, there's luck's not the right word, but there is you got to get some good breaks. Or even just avoid the really bad breaks that happen to people, right? That plays a role, and he seemed to have gotten. He's 2 for 2. It seems like when he's firmly in contention. I know it's a small sample size, but it seems to be everybody has a couple where they're in contention and get a really bad break, or the guy that they're chasing down or in contention with gets a really good one. And it seems like Collin's been on the good side of that twice now, and it's law of averages. He's probably due to come close and not get one, which I mean that's the case for a lot of guys, but that's just something to think about too. And Collin, he said it. He actually addressed it post, his win. He's I'm not the best putter on tour or anything like that, but I had a good week this week, and that's all that really matters, right? It's all about warming it up, right? And I'm sure we've said this ad nauseum too, but he hits it so well. If he does have a good week, he's probably winning, and for him, his season long stats are so bad, but if you isolate, he has it's not he has a low ceiling, right? He can still putt really good. He just doesn't know how to do it week to week, which could very well just be part to second year on tour. He hasn't seen all these golf courses yet, and they every place has different grass, different speeds, different everything. Part of it could just be learning it, and maybe for the next 2-3 years he kind of raises the floor of his putting while still maintaining that high potential for when he gets it going. He's obviously he just won 2 majors in the last 8, so when it's good enough to win, right? So it's it's there. I think playing these courses year over year and building up that experience, a little familiarity, you got your greens book you carry with you throughout the years and stuff like that, adding all those notes and learning about the golf courses, I think that raises the floor of his putting so much that all of a sudden he'll be, I don't think he'll ever be a top 5 putter on tour, but he won't be 100th best for much longer. I think
more. But then again, dude, it's we put a lot of stake into putting, right?
Yeah.
We do this we talk about putting all the time, but then again, it's I think more importantly with these majors, you got to have this it factor, right? I mean, because if we win it based on putting, we and we'll discuss. I think we should definitely touch on Louis a little bit, because he's one of the best major performers in the last 5 years. I don't care if he wins. But statistically, Louis Oosthuizen, as of 2021, is the best putter on the tour and cannot win. So, there has to be, and John Rahm is 65th, and Collin Morikawa, I couldn't even scroll down.
124.
Yeah. So it's there, and I think you said it, Ponte, it has a lot to do with it, right? I mean, if they drop that week, these guys take advantage of it. And, Collin, I just remember that one, I don't remember exactly what hole it was, maybe 13 or 14. he had no business. What do you have, 35 feet, and he poured in that slider, that par putt. Like that easily couldn't have went in. Then sometimes they just drop, and when they drop, you got to take full advantage. And guys like Colin and guys like John are just so good off the tee that when they are dropping, guys like Louis Oosthuizen have no shot. You know what I mean? But we put a lot of stock into putting, and those are two guys who really aren't even close to the top 50. Yeah.
And to your point, like it's an it factor, right? Like when the bright lights are on, like you can make all those putts at the fucking John Deere, right? When whatever, you're just out there ripping up a golf course. You're not thinking about, oh, it's a major. This is majors are like legacy events, right? Like they're like define careers and shit like that. And especially a guy like Louis, he's got, as well as he plays all the time, because his ball striking is so good, he just doesn't have, and it's not that, I really don't think he chokes them away. Like there's no like Spieth at Augusta in 2016 moments for Louis, right? Like there's no like, he just tragic like, losses. He just seems to be a little bit neutral come Saturday, Sunday, or whatever day it is. And then everybody else kind of catches up to the ball striking because they turn it on and that it factor kicks in where it's like, I got to go fucking get this. And Louis doesn't seem to have like the go get this factor when it comes to like
it's a mindset.
I totally agree. I think that's
he's
what
not
it
a killer. He's not a killer.
He's just not a killer. He's a stud. But like I feel like Saturday and Sunday it's the same story every week. Like you, especially on the tour with how good these guys are now, you have to stay aggressive. You can't. Yeah. He comes out Thursday. Shout out Louis, because Paul and I both had Louis first round leader plus 3,500. Thank you. He comes out Thursday like guns blazing, and he goes off because he's just like because he's so good. But then he just like takes his foot off the gas, and like in this day's tour with the fields being so deep and these guys, coming on like we watched Dustin Johnson and TJ texted our little group chat on Saturday, and he was like, "Look out for DJ," and I'm looking at DJ just come up the board. It's like these guys will just surge, and like if you can't keep your foot on the gas, you will get caught, and you have no shot. Mm-hmm. You have no shot. Like even guys like Colin and John, like they make a ton of birdies, and you have to keep up on the weekend. You have to. And Louis just eases back. Louis like, okay, I'm in a good position, and then he just eases back, and he plays great golf. I mean, for Christ's sake, he can't start.
Have you guys heard the Bill tortoise in the hair? I mean, it's literally exactly that. It's the one who lasts longest, who has the mindset of getting to the end. That's what it is. Like Louis is a great golfer. Like you said, Prep, he's the best on tour putting statistically this year. But stats don't always add up to a W. And that's one of the biggest things that in sports in general. Stats don't always mean wins, right? You have to back it up. You have to have a mental mentality. And when you ask the question, Fontaine, about these guys under 28 years old, who's going to win the most majors in the next 5 years? I mean, two guys that come to mind that have the mentality to do it, that we have seen do it, especially the last two tournaments, Jon Rahm, Collin Morikawa. Yes, Spieth, but he's more of a mental head case. If I had to rank it, I'd go Collin, Jon Rahm, Spieth. That in that order, because the other guys don't care how good you are and what your stats say. You need to have a mindset to go out there and win. And if you you can't close.
There's something about the mindset, and shout out No Laying Up. I don't want to completely rip this off of them without giving them a little credit, but like there's something about that mindset that makes Jordan Spieth greater than the sum of his parts, right? Like when you come to statistics and stuff like that, like if you go by stats, Jordan Spieth shouldn't be second in this tournament, right? Like where like a guy like Louis, he somehow ends up being less than the sum of his parts because he checks every box, right? Like there's just something there where the mentality or the heart, whatever. I mean, it may be unfair to call somebody out for their heart, but like, there's just something there. It's an it factor. It's a mental mindset. It's something there that it either takes what you have and like you get more out of what you got, or you're getting less out of like the talent you have. And it seems like Louis always on that. I'm getting less out of what I got or what I can do, like straight up raw talent and like the statistics he pumps out due to the talent he has of ball striking, putting, etc. Where a guy like Jordan, like you watch him play and you're like, it's a fucking roller coaster. He's all around. He's all over the place. And all of a sudden he flies up the leaderboard. Or even a guy like Jon Rahm looked like he played honestly terrible Sunday because every time they showed him, it was missing a putt. And then 66. Like there's just something about it. And I think, we've kind of hit it on the head a few different ways here, but it's like, there's something about that it factor, that go get it on Saturday, Sunday. Don't avoid the big number, but go make more birdies, right? And I think Louis just goes, okay, I'm in a good spot here. Let's just keep doing what I'm doing, but make sure I don't do anything stupid. I think that's always kind of there.
Right.
Where
Always.
like Jon Rahm especially, and Colin too, like they only see green lights, like yes, they're not firing at every pin and short-siding themselves and being like dumb about it, but they're always trying to hit the best shot for the situation, right? Sometimes that best shot is, hey, hit it in the middle of the green and take your 15, 20-foot chance and run with it because there's danger over there. That's totally fine. But Louis seems to do that like without the danger there. You know what I'm saying? He just kind of is like, okay, let's just plug away. Let's hit greens and reg here. Let's, take our chances with the putt, whatever. Where these guys, if they get the right number and there's not death around the corner, they're going for it, And that, I think, again, it may not even, like, when it comes down to the true numbers you're writing on a card, it probably only makes a difference for like 3 holes out there where they make a birdie and you make a par and then whatever. But the mindset of that throughout the weekend eventually catches up to like a guy like Louis.
Right.
Like,
if Louis was at the prime of his career 15 years ago, he would win every major, like literally. And I just think nowadays it's just a different beast. It is. The field is so much deeper. Everyone is so much better. They hit it so much farther, and it's just like it's hard to compete with all these guys. If you're, you look at Louis' scorecard, he bogeys 4 and then bogeys a par 5, 6 back to back, and then it's just like, okay, goodbye, Louis. See ya. Have fun cruise controlling your 72 on Sunday, or 73, your classic round, Sunday performance. But I mean, either way, I mean, what do you guys think as in terms of a disappointment for this week, though? We definitely got to touch on. There were some guys that pissed me off, frankly.
I mean, obviously Rory, but like I kind of expected it. I don't know, like he's and again, no laying up. Guys been talking about it a lot just because of like the attention. Like I think Rory's is truly at a place where like he just has so much money and like he like makes so much money and he has so much talent. It's like it's really hard to go grind for 6 hours a day. He's got a new kid. Like there's just so much else he does in his life between his sponsorship requirements, his media requirements, the travel, because like, that he's from Northern Ireland, right? Like the travel of the PGA Tour. I mean, he obviously lives in the States.
It's a great point.
Like there's so many other things that he has in his life now because of how fucking good he was at golf when he was 21 through 27 or 26, whatever. And he still has that talent. But all this stuff we're saying about mindset, it matters like every week to even have the focus for 72 holes and stuff like that too. If we want to take a little bit of a step back from like that killer factor, like I really think he just like, it's so hard for him to like, and I think Tron said this, like, if you're not exactly flushing it, like you got to have a little dog in the fight and like grind it out and figure out a way to put the ball in the hole. Like, when you play a 72-hole golf tournament, you're going to have a 9-hole, 12-hole stretch or maybe a couple 6-hole stretches where you're not flagging it, right? Like you're missing a little bit here or there. It's not the end of the world, but like you got to find a way to put the ball in the hole when you have that if you really want to win. Like that stretch has to stay at even par.
I wonder if he's dealing with, because this is what I think, happened to Jordan during his kind of bad run. Obviously, the mental stuff, we could talk about that all day. But I think it got to a point with Jordan where like you talk about the money stuff and like, the publicity, which Rory and Jordan are probably the 2 biggest figures on the tour right now. At what point for them is there like more to life than winning golf tournaments? Like both of them are new families. I think Jordan Spieth, I know he's recently married. I don't know about his kid situation or whatever, but I know Rory's like a new dad or whatever and stuff. And it's like, what point, Jordan Spieth signed a $200 million contract with Under Armour and then like disappeared, like figment, gone, and it's just like, at what point, Rory's the same way. Rory is such a huge megastar where it's like you have so much going on, at what point is it like, okay, well now my life is here where like I'm not 24-year-old Colin Morikawa who's still trying to make a name for himself and get popular. He's like, I'm 30-year-old Rory McIlroy, and I have a bigger dick than all of you, and I don't care about any of you. You know, and it's like, where's the discrepancy there?
Well, it's simply as changing a lifestyle. I mean, you kind of said it. Like Jordan just got married. Rory is married with a kid. I mean, Jon Rahm's a little bit different. I won't put him in that category because he's
still young. Though. He doesn't have 4 majors already like Rory does. You know,
right?
Like,
yeah, exactly. Rory's done it.
He's trying to prove himself and rack those up. You know.
You don't think Colin Morikawa is going to get engaged in the next year or two? Like you're out of your mind if you don't think so. Like that may also be Colin Morikawa. Maybe it might switch over to Jon Rahm and
I think that definitely plays a factor if you're going to start projecting in the
future. Though, because like you're waking up early. Like Rory was talking about waking up early to feed his kid and like be there for him. Obviously, as a parent, like your obligation, your job is to raise that kid. Like you're not thinking about golf necessarily as number one. As Colin Morikawa, he wakes up and he's trying to piss excellence in golf. Like,
right.
Got a girlfriend, like he can maintain that. But once he starts that family, starts getting married, that's where it changes. And for Jordan, he happened to do that after he won a couple majors.
Yeah.
And I think that's the turning point, though, of the mindset. Granted, these guys are such competitors; they can get that back, but you got to take care of business first at home.
Right, and I think Jordan. He, like you said, he signed that deal. He won 3 majors in 2 years or whatever it was, and like then all of a sudden, when it gets a little difficult, it's very easy to be like, well, I have $200 million in the bank account. Like, like, I'm just gonna relax, and like enjoy time with my family, whatever, because like they put in so many hours and work to get as good as they are, right? Like that, you can't replace that when you're like growing up, high school, college, first get on tour, like you're grinding your ass off, right? And like when you kind of get there, right, it's very easy to just be like, oh, like just to take a breath for a second. And it's so competitive and guys are so good on this tour right now. The second you take that breath, your gap of how good you were just shrunk, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and I think that's another thing with Roy too. He still is pretty close to the top driver of the ball in the world. But from him to like number 10 when in 2014 when he was at his best was like light years away. From him to number 10 now, I mean, he probably is number 10 now, but like, let's go 2 years ago when he was still like top of the drivers on the tour, like 1 to 10 wasn't that big of a gap, like, so he just kind of lost that spread that he had and like everything else that we've talked about. It's just like, it's hard to find motivation. It's just like, how do I like, he had an interview in like 2014 when he won the PGA and the Open. He's like, literally all I did this year was play golf. Like he's not doing that anymore. Like
no way.
Just too much.
To go off with Rory in that 2014, I think that he was engaged to Wozniacki until like May or something in 2014. Then that's when he went on that run in like July and August when he was PGA, Bridgestone, and then the Open. Those 3 in a row. I think he won. He won like 3 starts and 3 tournaments and 4 starts or something like that. Like he just went on an absolute tear 2 months after he broke up with his fiance at the time.
It's just
no comment.
To be that elite and to win majors, especially, you just there's no, and like even Phil spoke to it when he won. Like Phil said, one of the longest careers. You won't see many careers ever get anywhere near what Phil's done anytime soon. But like he talked about how much like he's like, I played 36 holes a day for the last 4 months to train my body to be able to focus and mentally grind for a 72-hole golf tournament. And like those extra things, like Phil, like he's towards the back end of his career, but he can kind of do that because like his family and stuff, they're kind of grown now, right? Like they're outside the house, they're all through high school and whatever. So like his parenting responsibilities have taken a step back, and he's been married 30 years. Like there's all this different stuff, right? Like it's just golf is such a difficult sport, and to be as elite as it takes to win majors, you just have to be young and hungry and just over the top with like your obsession with it and wanting to get better and grinding nonstop. Like I think just when you get to the point of eliteness and star status and all this shit, like I just don't see Rory like taking the summer and grinding his ass off on his golf.
Right.
Like DJ in that, right? Like I think DJ was sick of hearing that he never won a major and said, fuck you guys. I'm going to go learn how to hit my wedges to like a 3-foot circle inside 140 yards. And then he became world number 1 and won at Oakmont. And, dominated the PGA Tour for the last 5 years.
And Oakmont was an absolute clinic he put on.
Right.
And I was going to touch on DJ, right? We talk about the head thing. We talk about the family thing and all that. Like, I mean, you speak on DJ and that, I don't know what's going on up there. I think people have this like false sense that he's like stupid. He's definitely not. He's like an absolute golf savant. And like, but he has all that. He has multiple kids. He has the family thing. He has one, and I think that just kind of shows that there are guys out there, who don't let their head get in the way. Plus they're an absolute freak. Like he is a freak and his game just never seems to go wayward. And, that's why it was just another, I felt like he played average all week and it's just another top 10 for DJ, just another, another 500K check to the bank for good old Dustin. Right. Yeah. And like, it goes both ways though, right? You see, that's why golf is cool. That's why golf is one of my favorite sports, because you see the spectrums of the mental side of golf is insane. Like you see guys like Brooks and DJ, and then you see other guys like Rory and Jordan and Bryson and John, and how they battle themselves mentally. And then other guys who can just like, when they get in that moment, things change. And, we didn't touch on Brooks either, but another top 10 from Brooks too. Like it's just guys who can show up when the lights turn on and, everything goes crazy. And it's interesting to see.
It is. Golf just gives you so much insight because it's such an individual, like they're by themselves, right? Like they can't hide behind a good pitching day, and like hit, only score 2 runs, but the pitcher was lights out, so they got the win anyways, right? Like there's stuff like that where like there's not a team to fall back on to kind of pick you up. It's like it's just you, yourself, and the stupid little golf ball, and you gotta like figure out a way to get it in the fucking hole.
You gotta find a way to put in that 6-inch hole, huh?
Exactly. They're just like like DJ Rory is a good comparison because they're pretty similar, and like when they were good at the same time, right? Like I think DJ found motivation by people just being like, he never wins a major, so who cares? Rory won those majors so early in his career. He reached that mountaintop so early, and now that he's down, he's like, well, yeah, but like I've done that already, like where DJ couldn't say that. So like that's what got him back in the gym and back on the range and whatever. Or Rory's like, look at my list. Like what? Like I don't have anything more to prove. Like yeah, like I'd love to keep winning and build that, but like he's also still like sneaky young. He's like 32. Like DJ's 37.
Yeah, sneaky.
Phil didn't win a major till he was 34. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if Rory just does a Phil for like from 34 to 44. Like,
it could easily happen. And he's so gifted. He'll be hitting it like that for a long time.
Yeah, he takes care of himself and stuff.
Man.
Phil's
Rory could easily win 5 more majors. Like, I if he gets it together and things change, you never know what can fucking change. You really don't. Anything could change at any time. People thought Jordan Spieth was gone forever. Right. Like literally, he fell off the face of the earth. And obviously, Jordan's a bunch of years younger than Rory and whatever. But these guys that the skill set is their foundation of their career, like a Rory, like a DJ, and whatever. If they can get the head right, and all of a sudden they find one little thing, and you never know where it goes, right? But I look at the leaderboard, and we touched on disappointments before, and in credit to me for being so goddamn wrong on Justin Thomas. I mean, I thought,
hand up, join you there.
Yeah, hand up. The best gambling segments do talk about their L's, and he was an L. I mean, obviously he made the cut and whatever, but it's just been a tough year for him. And there's no other way to put it. He's had a dog shit year, and that's it. When the Ryder Cup comes around, you bet your ass he's got a roster spot, but it's been a tough year for him. He's really struggled, and I thought, especially with the weather, like you're not seeing what did they finish at 16 under or whatever? Is that what Colin finished at?
15,
14 or something, 15, whatever. You're not seeing scores like that, and generally when they become kind of birdie fest, which Saturday and Sunday was definitely birdie fest. You're seeing all these 66s on Sunday. I thought we'd get a lot more from Justin Thomas, and he just didn't really show up.
Dude, he's putting so bad right now. I watched him Thursday morning. Woke up at 4 a.m. He was like the 420 or 510 tee time, something like that, like one of the morning featured groups. And he ball struck it all over the first 10 holes, like hit every green regulation and was like 1 over. Like he had 34 putts or 36 putts. Like that is abysmal. Like the average for that round was like 30 for the field. the third best player in the world,
Average, yeah.
behind the average. Like, if he putts halfway decent, he shoots 5 under day one. You know what I'm saying? Like, and all of a sudden it's a whole nother week, right? Like, he just, I think when you're, to tie it into the mental, like when you play a round of golf like that, where from tee to green, you execute it 90, 95%, and you just piss shots away on the green, like, you don't want to be there. Like, that's the most frustrating way to play golf, is to, like, from 400 yards away to the green, do everything perfect, and then within a 20-foot circle just puke on yourself for an entire day.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a shitty way to play golf, and
The
I think
stupid flat club, and you can't do
like,
anything with
it's
it.
so frustrating. I think that he tries to stay patient, and then you're just like, fuck off, and then you have like a shitty 9 holes, shoot a few over, then you kind of get out of your system, then you come back, but like, you can't win majors doing that, right? So it's just like, I think he just needs to like switch putters, like take a break, whatever, just kind of do something to reset, because the swing looked pretty good. Like, it wasn't like the result sucked, but like, he hit the ball better than it looked. I think he just putted like shit, and then got in a bad spot mentally, started forcing it, and then and it kind of trickled down effect from there. But like, he's definitely, this year is a weird one for him, because like, you win the Players, you think, oh, great year, but like, that was really it. Other than that, it was not pretty for him this year, which is surprising, I think.
Right, and I thought he'd build a lot of momentum off that Players win, and it just didn't come. And I think who was it? Lee Westwood, right, was competing with him that week, and like, Lee probably could have won that tournament too. And I think, Justin made a couple amazing Justin Thomas like shots and birdies and whatever. But I know it's been really up and down, really surprising. There were a lot of surprises, I thought, this week too. I mean, with the conditions, sorry, TJ was preparing us for fucking hurricanes every day, pretty much. With those 25-mile-an-hour gusts we were expecting, we didn't get any of it. Right, we didn't get any of it, which was a total shock. I mean, weather's a scam. I've been saying it all along. But either way, it's like, we're expecting more from high birdie guys like Justin Thomas, and guys like Patrick Reed too, who didn't even make the cut. Interesting. He was another guy I loved this week. I'll go fuck myself. But either way, it's you were expecting a lot more and just didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. That was definitely one of our longer recap segments, but I think it makes sense to recap the Open and then just kind of summarize the year as a whole as well.
Last major of the year, dude.
You got to look back at a little more big picture stuff. But I don't know. You guys got anything else that we didn't hit on? I know we hit a lot there, but I don't know. I thought 2021 the majors brought it. I mean, you go down the list. You got Phil,
fabulous.
Yeah, Phil, Rahm, Colin, obviously, and then Hideki. Like, that's pretty. That's a star-studded squad right there. If I've ever heard one, you don't
Hideki,
have,
baby, legend.
Yeah, there's no like, who the fuck is that guy? You're gonna look back in 5 or 10 years and be like, who the fuck is that? Like, I don't think there's any of those snuck in this year. So overall, quite the year of majors, and I mean, I can only imagine we got the longest break we've had in a while between them, but hopefully the Ryder Cup gives us a little juice along the way to keep us going.
Can't wait for that.
I would say the last thing to wrap up with, because we talked about last week, pick the 1 Euro guy, 1 American guy, just real brief. We could do a quick recap. Let's give a quick shout out to our boy Matty F, who won with Spieth and Rory. Spieth being second and Rory tied 48. Spieth carried the load there. So 1.2 mil for Fontaine. We're going to continue to do this, boys. I think we can all agree this was a lot of fun, right? I think.
It was
for sure. I can't believe Rory shot even par with 17 birdies this week too. He's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
He's terrible. Terrible.
Before the tournament starts, we'll have to put our Euro and American guy in and keep this going for, I don't know. We'll finish out the FedEx Cup, restart, reestablish, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I came in last. I literally think Paul's salary is higher than my combined winnings on the tournament. So it wasn't a great showing. I think my guys made like $100,000 combined. It was pretty bad. So I'll look to do a little better. Hopefully Tommy Fleetwood doesn't suck as bad as I think he literally traveled 20 minutes to get to fucking St. George's and sucked. I mean, Christ almighty.
the worst pick of the week was by Matty F. I mean, he literally had Rory, and then he just picked Spieth. It just was better than all of them.
Hey,
it was the highest prize pool I think in Open history with like whatever the winning share was, like $2 million or something like that.
1.2 for a solo second.
Crazy.
Now,
my last thing about the Open, by the way, my last thing is I'm done after this. Ricky Fowler shot 5 under on Sunday.
Yeah, but he was one.
Shots
I know. I just don't get him. I don't get him. We should have a whole episode on him. Maybe we'll go visit him or something.
Honestly,
waste of our time.
Honestly, after
a waste.
FedEx Cup, we're gonna have to do some deep dive episodes because they won't be playing a lot of golf. I don't care about the fall series. We will not be gambling on that. So we'll have to do
Money
some
in the
deep
crumbs.
dive or like look backs and shit like that, and kind of dive into a couple different topics. And if we want to do Ricky Fowler, we can definitely do that. I bet you pull up his Wikipedia and track his years and his finishes and stuff like that. It's quite the story of like how close he was to breaking through and now how bad he really is at golf. So
I'll just start following him around, paparazzi him, and we'll make sure we get all the inside details of why he sucks. So
exactly. All right, boys. Always
great week, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Shout out Louis.